Franz Schubert was only 25 years old when he contracted syphilis in 1822. He died only 6 years later, at 31. In the year leading up to his death, Schubert composed his Winterreise, or Winter Journey, a song cycle of 24 songs setting the poetry of Wilhelm Müller, accounting a person's journey alone in the winter after a relationship has ended. But I think there is more to this story than just unrequited love or betrayal. I think this story is one that reflects Schubert's own. Winterreise is not just a scary walk through the woods, but a real catalog of intimacy, isolation, and what it is like to face death alone. The cycle begins with the song Gute Nacht, in which the narrator prepares to embark on this journey and reflects on the past, saying, Das Mädchen sprach von Liebe, die Mutter gar von Ehe, or the girl spoke of love, her mother even of marriage. The song goes on as the narrator imagines what this journey might be like, even idealizing at times, saying, Love delights in wandering, God made it so. In the last verse of the song, the narrator decides that he'll leave. He says, I will not disturb you as you dream. It would be a shame to spoil your rest. You shall not hear my footsteps. Softly, softly I'll close the door. As I leave, I write good night on your door, so that you might see that I thought of you.
Fremd bin ich eingezogen, fremd zieh ich wieder raus. Der Mai war mir gewogen, mit manchem Blumenstrauß. Das Märchen sprach von Liebe, die Mutter gar von Ehe. Das Märchen sprach von Liebe, die Mutter gar von Ehe. Nun ist die Welt so trübe, der Wege hielt in Schnee. Nun ist die Welt so trübe, der Wege hielt in Schnee.
Schubert was a very social person, even having parties named after him, where he and his friends, and possibly romantic partners, would play games, talk, and share music in their own apartments. This intimacy is far different from the tradition of performing Lieder in a recital hall, wearing elegant clothes and holding applause to the end of large sections of music that we have today. The Schubertiade, as it would have been called in Schubert's day, is closer to a punk basement concert than a Lieder recital. Particularly for the performers, if the song was performed by a pianist and a singer, they would have been close, almost as if presenting the songs to one another and directly to their close friends, rather than presenting to the back of a recital hall. Imagine a warm Vienna apartment full of laughter, songs, and people you love. Then imagine a 25-year-old Schubert full of life, full of music, full of love, discovering he only has a small number of years left, and the very thing killing him was contracted by intimacy. This puts the first song of Winterreise in a new perspective. The narrator is forced to leave. He's forced to exile himself from the rest of society and the one that he loves, and begin alone on a journey that he knows from the very beginning will end in death. The narrator reflects on happiness of the past and longs for a future that could have been, all while facing the reality that all of that has been lost and a lonely, painful journey that ends in death is the only thing that lies ahead. Throughout the rest of the cycle, the narrator finds brief moments of rest, hope, and joy in nature and in the act of wandering itself. In the fifth and one of the most famous songs from the cycle, Der Lindenbaum, the song begins in a major key as the narrator reflects on the memories he has of carving words of love into its bark. He feels happy remembering these fond moments, but then is brought back to sadness by the reality of the journey ahead. As the song progresses, the mood quickly changes when the narrator is brought back to the present moment and what the tree represents now that he is on this final journey. The wind rustling through its leaves begs him to stop there and find rest, if only for a moment. But the narrator continues on his journey, still hearing the trees' leaves rustling, begging him to come back and rest, even miles away from the tree itself. In the 12th song of the cycle, Einsamkeit, the narrator reflects directly on his own loneliness. Even after passing by areas of warmth, light, and peace, the narrator sings at the end of the song, "Als noch die Stürme tobten, war ich so elend nicht." Or, when the storms were still raging, I felt less wretched. This is particularly painful when imagining Schubert seeing his friends and lovers enjoying life and moving forward, while he is alone on this painful and lonely journey of facing death and moving towards it. This song is the end of the first notebook Schubert wrote in during the cycle, as he received the first 12 poems first, and then the second 12 later. Whether Schubert knew that he would continue the cycle beyond this when he was first writing it is still unknown. But thinking of this being the end of the cycle is a far more lonely and depressing end to the cycle than the often melodramatically performed Der Leiermann. The journey continues in the 13th song, Die Post. The narrator hears a post horn from the town that he left, and he wishes to return, but he continues on the journey. The 15th song, Die Krähe, is one of my favorite songs in the cycle, and in my opinion, it's the climax of the entire cycle. In this song, the narrator points out to a crow that has been following him ever since he left the town. The crow circles the narrator above as he continues on the journey. He speaks to the crow, asking if it will ever leave. Then the narrator asks the crow if it is waiting to take his own body as prey. Then the narrator admits that he doesn't have much more time left on this journey. Then, in the climactic moment of the song, the narrator ascends in a stepwise pattern up to the highest note in the cycle. In this phrase, the narrator challenges the crow to show him loyalty to the grave, with the highest note being on the word Grabe, or grave.
Nun, es wird nicht weit mehr gehen an dem Wanderstabe. Krähe, lass mich endlich
There are obviously parallels between becoming prey for a crow and the physical degradation that happens in syphilis when untreated. In this song, the narrator, for the first time since leaving on this journey, is no longer alone, but is followed and connected to by this bird that is waiting to eat his own flesh, in a similar way to how Schubert is connected to and inseparable from his disease, and while living is waiting for his body to be physically degraded, while he still is alive to witness it. The second to last song, to me, feels more like a final chapter, with the final song being an epilogue. In this song, Die Nebensonnen, the narrator sings about seeing 3 suns in the sky. He says he has stared at them and that they are staring back at him, unmoving, for so long. He knows that the 3 suns he sees in the sky are not real. He sings, Ach, meine Sonnen seid ihr nicht, or Ah, my sons, you are not. He begs the false sons, as he begged the crow in Die Krähe, to leave him alone and go somewhere else. Then he sees that 2 of the sons that he refers to as the best sons, finally go down. In the final line of the song, in a quiet surrender, the narrator sings, If only the 3rd would follow them, the dark will be better for me.
Ach, meine Sonnen seid ihr nicht. Schaut andern doch ins Angesicht. Ja, neulich hatte ich auch wohl 3, nun sind hinab die besten 2. Ging nur die dritte erst hinter 3, im Dunkeln fehlt mir wohl sein.
As Schubert succumbed to his illness, the physical toll that syphilis had on his body at the end of his life, combined with the loneliness and exile that he must have felt, paints this song in a new light. Just as the narrator wishes for the suns to go down, leaving him in darkness, leaving him to die, Schubert also sees death as an end to the loneliness and pain of suffering brought on by intimacy and love. In the final and most harmonically sparse song, Der Leiermann, the narrator comes up to an old man playing a dray lyre, or hurdy-gurdy. This is the first time in the cycle that the narrator actually meets and connects with another character. The piece opens marked pianissimo with the narrator simply describing this and the old man outside of the village. He notes that the man is barefoot, standing on the ice, staggering to and fro. Schubert uses simple melodic phrases to create the scene, like the narrator is noticing one by one every detail that is in front of him. The melody is passed back and forth between the piano and the singer, between the narrator and the lyreman. Throughout the piece, the narrator seems to be amazed by the old man, and how he never stops playing, even in the cold, even with frozen hands, even with dogs growling all around him, even when there is no one there to listen. The lyreman is truly alone with only his songs. I believe in Schubert's setting of this poem, we see Schubert in both the narrator and the lyreman. A man coming to the end of his journey and to the end of his life as a whole meets the musician whose songs continue to play despite the pain and despite the loneliness. Returning to the first song, we hear the narrator sing of what could have been. The narrator saw for his future love and marriage, but was forced to exchange it for loneliness on a journey to the end. In the penultimate system of the song and of the cycle, we hear for the first time the voice and piano entering both together on the downbeat. The singer enters with the text, Wunderlicher Alter, soll ich mit dir gehen, or Wondrous Elder, shall I go with you? This shows the narrator and the lyreman finally playing together. This shows the narrator and Schubert surrendering to the end of the journey, surrendering to death. The final line of the song, Willst du meinen Liedern deine Leier drehen? The narrator, for the first time in the entire cycle, speaks directly to someone, asking, do you want to play with my songs your lyre? The phrase crescendos to forte on the last word, drain or turn, referring to the spinning wheel of the hurdy-gurdy. In this phrase, I see a desperate, lonely Schubert speaking directly to the listener or the audience, asking in fear, do you want to continue to play my songs with me, even when I am gone? Schubert died the same year that he first performed Winterreise for a small group of friends. Schubert's friend Josef von Spaum recounts that evening, saying, for some time Schubert appeared very upset and melancholy. When I asked him what was troubling him, he would say only, soon you will hear and understand. One day he said to me, come over to Schober's today, and I will sing you a cycle of horrifying songs. I am anxious to know what you will say about them. They have cost me more effort than any other songs. So he sang the entire winter journey to us in a voice full of emotion. We were utterly dumbfounded by the mournful, gloomy tone of these songs. One of Schubert's other friends conveyed his dislike for the songs, with the exception of Der Lindenbaum, to which Schubert replied, I like these songs more than the rest, and you will come to like them as well. Now, with this perspective, we can return to the first song of the cycle. As Schubert sets, it is not about someone leaving someone else who has ended a relationship, but about someone facing a lonely, painful death that was brought on by an act of intimacy. The cycle is about a 25-year-old Schubert leaving behind the party and all those who he loved, and who loved him, to face death alone. As the narrator asks the lyreman, to continue playing his songs. I think Schubert would be happy to know that Winterreise is one of the most recorded and performed song cycles of all time. So many of these recordings, in my opinion, treat these songs, as Schubert refers to them, as a cycle of horrifying songs. It's true, there are images of crows, a dark forest, a freezing old man, they're all there, but Winterreise is much more than a cold walk through a haunted house. It's a story of warmth, light, and intimacy and love being replaced with cold, darkness, isolation, and death. This is what makes the horror of the cycle work and feel so intimate and personal. The idea that, as in the first song, things could have been different, but instead we, the narrator, the listener, Schubert, the lyreman, we are all forced to surrender and accept our fate, whatever that may be.